Hello and welcome to this presentation of data science tools and techniques. My name is Juan, and for the last couple of weeks, no, months, I've been working on this data science project. The project in itself is a game that was made with the help of Pygame, which is a library in Python from scratch. Um, So without further ado, and if I have your undivided attention, I will proceed with the following steps. For this is the table of contents, which involves introduction and timeline, the methods, the data usage, the implementation, the obstacles, and finally the conclusion. Um, Throughout this process, I will be jumping into the script of the games and then jump back to the presentation. So will be the work method. Well, for the timeline, there was a early phase which consisted of preloading the characters and the background because this is in fact a game that was made from scratch, which consisted of two characters which were taken from sprite sheets, which I can show you in a second. Um, um, Loading them in and having them in the correct sizes and format was in the early phases. And the initial phases, they had to be um, fitted to the screen. They had to be equally of size, and then a control mechanism had to be entered for them to move into their respectable positions and not only move but only to as well as to act in those fashions. What I'm saying is that each sprite sheet, which I will show you right now, it's nothing more than this is, for example, the sprite sheet. There are multiple on the internet, on the World Wide Web. Multiple examples. I have taken a couple, but most of them, the adjustments of those sprite sheets, fitting them into your screen is quite challenging, and having them to move because what a sprite sheet does is it has these rows. All of these horizontal rows and these vertical rows indicate something because this is considered, or this means zero, idle. So he doesn't move, or he moves in this sequence and he keeps moving. This is one of the triggers that's installed in the script, which I will also demonstrate in a second. And his first one is moving or walking. And this is how he does it. And 4 and 5 are attack. So, and I will also show you these into the script. And the last one is, of course, the final punch and death. So there are multiple sprite sheets, but the ones from the internet are not really useful because because the copyright strikes they are very limited, or they have a emblem on it to um, stop you from using it. So you have to. This one is one that was on the GitHub, and I took this one because you won't find other spreadsheets like this one. Now back to the presentation and the concluding stage. All characters had to be moving according to the movements that were initiated in the triggers that will also be demonstrated in a second. And with them moving, with them performing their stunts and actions, and having a health bar to demonstrate what and how much of their strengths are drawn. Now, methods that were used, the library that was used. Well, Pygame, this is a open source library for creating games, two-dimensional, one-dimensional, and I do not think that three-dimensional games are made in Python. The use of two Python files, one main and one fighter. Um, let's go to the scripts that were used, so you have a better indication of how well and how they look like. Well, this is the main script. where I just did the import Pygame. And as you can see from test fighters, import fighters. Well, I made a second script with the fighters. This is the test fighter with the fighters, and it imports the class fighters. So the class fighters is a number of triggers. This is the formula which has all of those players and the movements and they flip and all the data, the animation steps, all of those were worked out in the main script. So it moves back and forth. And from those, it imports that. And these are all the triggers, the sizes, scaling, the offset, the flip, action, animated, um, jumping, running. Like I said, the idle stage, zero, and then running, jumping, attacking, attack type, and a cooldown that was added, which I will talk about in a later stage. Now, moving back to the presentation, the data usage, a background image from the internet was taken for the sprite sheets, a warrior sprite sheet, and a wizard sprite sheet were both taken. For fonts, I imported fonts from VS Code for just a opening ceremonial presence of more visual appearances. Well, the goals and objectives. The goal was to create a Pygame from scratch uh, with key features, two-dimensional fighting game with playable characters. It has health bar, animations, attack, movements. At the end of the presentation, I will demonstrate the game itself. Applied the game concepts that were taken from YouTube, World Wide Web, Medium, all types of websites. Well, obstacles. I have added a quote here as well. If you don't come across obstacles, in a row, it probably leads nowhere. Obstacles. Well, character alignment. This was a huge one because I couldn't get the characters to stand opposite of each other. So that had to be added in the trigger. Hitbox had to be created in a area where he hits where they hit each other, and it has to be effective to the other character because how do you do it with Pygame? You add all these triggers in, you create a small hitbox of, for example, a area that sees it as a hit. Timing and a cooldown. I added a cooldown of I believe 20 because when he hits him, he has to bounce back and refine himself. I updated the health bar. The health bar that was officially in this script from YouTube was not really useful, or I found it rather not appealing, so I changed it to something else. Implementation. Well, there is a main script and there's a fighter class. The main one has the characters, the backgrounds, the loop, so it knows when to start, it knows when to end. And the second one with the fighter has all of the triggers from the fighter, the attacks, the attributes, the animation, the collision mechanisms. And for conclusion, we have a successfully implemented Pygame. I used a little bit of a ChrisTM model to demonstrate this presentation, while overcoming the challenges and creating a functional and engaging game. Now moving on to the script really quick. Well, I made a trigger for movement A for player one, as you can see. I made a movement A for moving left, D for moving right, W for jumping, and the attack triggers I put in Q for his first attack and E for his second attack. This is to update their positions. Like I said, 6 attack, 5 also attack. I added a cooldown of 60, so he bounces back 60 milliseconds after the frame. And without further ado, I will demonstrate the game in a second. Oh yeah, the sizes of them had to be updated, or I had to play with them to find them in the correct fit, the warrior size, the offset, and the scale of him, because otherwise he would be too big, too small, and they would not face each other properly. As you can see, this is where I loaded them in. This is the background. These are the steps of the spreadsheets, like I said, in the horizontal and the first vertical. And this is, I made a beautiful font for a proper introduction to the game. And now I will run this game. As you can see, one fight, and boom, here's the game. He moves with all the triggers that were added. And if I attack him with the proper attack keys, he hits him and he hits him. And I believe this one will lose because I am allowing him to lose. The health bar I put in with a five, just a number of five. So each time you hit him, five subtracts from him. So if I will hit him for the last time, he will die. And this is death, moving part. So this is the game that was created. I would like to thank you very much for your undivided attention, and this will be all for now. Thank you very much.